Thanks again for joining. This webinar is going to be focused really on the finance and AI agents here at Semaphore. I'm Tom Benton. I'm the field CTO at Semaphore.ai. In my role, I get to work with customers really from day one almost, as we started the company, partner closely with the co-founders, but spend most of the time with the customers building out the first initial AI agents and the use cases with our platform. So really thrilled to be on with you all, and super excited to share what we've learned in those engagements, and specifically today around working with finance agents. So in that vein, I'm joined with Rahim Shakoor, who is our VP of Finance here at Semaphore. So if you'd like to give a quick background about yourself, Rahim, that would be great.
Thanks, Tom, and thank you all for joining us here today. My name is Rahim, the VP of Finance here at Semaphore. I've spent my career in finance, started off in the public accounting world for a number of years, auditing both private and public companies, and then switched over to join private company role in the controller role, and then moved over to a public company running FP&A over there. So a broad experience of both public and private companies, and excited to talk about AI agents in finance here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rahim. And as you all can see, I am not the finance guy. So we've got Rahim on to answer all those questions. But I think what you'll see is someone like myself from the technical side, paired with a really strong business leader like Rahim, you can come to a really great outcome with Semaphore. So let's start to dig in. As far as the agenda, we'll do a quick little platform overview for folks. Again, it's going to be a non-technical call today. We're going to keep it high level. We'll sort of dig into the opportunities we see for finance agents, be led with discussion with Rahim. We'll get into how we build agents at Semaphore, as well as a quick demo of our platform. We'll actually wrap up with some use cases that we've worked on with some customers to help give you some ideas of where to get started. And then just some more links. We'll essentially have a question and answer section at the end, and then as well as a really prescriptive way to get started with us and our platform. So with that, a quick little bit about Semaphore. So Semaphore is a company that was started a little bit less than a year ago. Folks that had come out of the big data space, so think companies like Hortonworks and Cloudera, as well as partnering up with folks out of the automation as code side. So two key areas of our platform, both data and automation of code. What the co-founders saw at the time is this big opportunity to enable AI across the enterprise, but a controlled and a repeatable way, right? So being able to enable business users to actually build out these enterprise AI agents. So you may be asking, what's an enterprise AI agent? This is really important to us at Semaphore because we've built and architected our entire platform around it. The first one is we think that these AI agents should be able to be defined in English by business users for themselves and other business users. To do that, we think it's critical to understand the full context within your enterprise. So this can mean data from applications or APIs or documents, things like PDF or Excel. Third, we think they need to be able to work autonomously and improve over time with feedback and training, but also support things that are critical, like the human in the loop type activities where I want to chat with my agent. Fourth, we need to be able to provide complete transparency from start to finish of how we think and reason through a problem. And that's something that we capture in our platform today. Really, really critical probably for the folks on this call when you look at finance and the financial services industry, anything with compliance and any type of regulatory needs. This is first and foremost when doing anything with AI. And then, so last but not least, obviously, secure and govern the platform from the minute you start building agents, be able to be secure and governed to the moment that you publish those and start to use those agents in production. Quick overview of the Semaphore Enterprise AI Agent Platform. These are the personas we're building for, and they map to each product within that lifecycle. So we think about our lifecycle of an agent of build, run, manage, and use. So first off, we're going to be focusing on a lot on the business process owner today. You can really imagine this is what Rahim is here on our call today, and when I actually build agents with them internally. So this is where we'll focus our call today. But what we typically do is we pair up with IT. They leverage what we call the Semaphore AI SDK to rapidly build those automations. We then publish it off to a control room. And then from the control room, we can easily deploy that agent out for use by business users today. So I'll be demoing this flow for you all. We work with your LLMs of choice. So things like Claude based in Amazon Bedrock, work with OpenAI, both in Azure as well as directly with OpenAI, all of this running within your cloud VPC. Where that's really important is we're not a SaaS solution. All of your prompts, all of your data, all of your really proprietary type interactions working with your finance data is all stays and stored inside your VPC. So stays within your four walls. Critical thing to us here at Semaphore. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Rahim to talk a little bit about the opportunity that he has seen, as well as our customers within the finance space regarding AI agents.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so the finance world has grown, and the scope of what finance does has grown. And I think all the folks on the call here that are living and breathing this day to day can understand that things are more complex now. Excel alone is just not going to cut it. And so there's other tools out there that people have experimented with. Ultimately, we still all use Excel. You know, I use it heavily. But the more complex a business becomes, whether it's how you sell, how you intake invoices from third parties, and just what you're selling. If you're selling a service that is matching, you know, a driver with a rider, and you're in between, that's another example of a business model that wasn't there a decade ago. And so with all of these challenges that come up, the scope and what finance is required to do to get the numbers right, report on them timely and accurately, and also predict what's going to happen. It's all become very complex. So with that becomes a whole ecosystem of different tools that we're required to use and data stored in different places. And so it's, you know, Excel has its limitations as well. So that's definitely an opportunity. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to leverage AI agents. The next bullet here, everyone understands this, you know, the classic, how quickly can you close your books? We've got to do more with the same or less resources, because, you know, it's G&A. We've got to do, you know, what we can with what we have. So we're definitely being pressured, and feel the pressure of getting the books closed, getting them right, and doing more with the same amount of resources. One of the other inherent challenges that we see as an opportunity for AI agents is a lot of the outsourcing solutions that came about a decade ago, as things got more complex, come with inherent challenges. There's definitely positives that came out of outsourcing models, whether they're, you know, outside of the U.S. or within the U.S. There's challenges that come with that, whether they be time zones and, you know, cycles that you go through to get things done. There's an inherent challenge there, which we see as an opportunity for AI agents as well, to partner with them. There's also a desire within the finance teams, myself included, to be more strategic and not just be the ones that are, you know, providing numbers for someone else to go and do something with. We have an opportunity here as a finance team to be strategic partners, but we don't want to get bogged down by, you know, closing the books. I'll always go back to that because we have to do that. But we don't want to get bogged down by reconciliations and things like that. So these are opportunities to free up time so we can be more strategic to drive business growth, and be seen as true partners for the rest of the business that we ultimately serve. So that's another great opportunity to leverage the power of AI agents, like I am today, actually, in my role. I spend less time doing you know, the mundane tasks, A, because we're pretty lean over here, but B, because I spend more time with Tom and the other folks on the team to be more strategic and help grow the business. And the last point here is very applicable to most, if not all, large enterprises where, you know, the requirements and the bar of SOX controls continues to get raised. You know, the requirements from your auditors, both internal and external, it just keeps growing, and it feels like it's getting more and more. And so the documentation, the evidence that we need to provide, that everything that needs to be done in your processes to ensure SOX controls are met and you check all those boxes, but you also are, performing them effectively, those are continuing to expand and just the reality of the world. So we see another opportunity where AI agents can assist with this.
Awesome. Thanks, Raheem. That's great context. And I think as we think about the opportunity now, probably the lead in here is well, what types of work are we doing, right? So how do we make this more tactical, right? If we've got some great strategic initiatives or opportunities you've outlined, we thought it'd be great to present on, well, what types of work are great for some of our AI agents? So the following types of work and outcomes is really where we're focused on. So there's multiple categories. You have to remember that we're a platform really trying to drive that repeatability and control. So when you think about that, folks typically fall into one of these three categories. One is they're trying to forecast and predict. They've got some sort of data source, whether that's historical, it could be operational. They want to learn more, go through, forecast and predict. What's that next outcome for me? The second one is build a natural language experience for the end users between key and core systems, your systems of record. And then the third one is be able to drive consistent accuracy. So both over time and at scale. So think like enterprise scale needs to be incredibly accurate. I know before the webinar, we were talking about all the examples you had. And so I think, Rahim, it was great when you were able to sort of highlight these. Could you take folks through what would be an example of each type of agent here?
Yeah, and one of the hallmarks of a finance team, a world-class finance team, is predictability. Can you close your books on time? Do you know what you're going to do in terms of revenue in the next quarter or the next year? So we see an opportunity here with agents to, an example that I came up with that I'm using today is looking at our CRM systems and data that we have around close rates and when our bookings, our sales bookings will come in to then ultimately predict revenue. So analyzing large sets of data to drive a forecasted amount or a forecasted number in sales. And it's not just driving it for that point in time, it's building something that's repeatable and consistent so that I have a methodology to go and do that. To not only then predict what my sales are going to be, my revenue, billing and collections, everything that stems from that. I've got a kind of an agent built to help me with that. So that's really on the forecasting predictability, and that's just one example. There are other, examples that I'm using today around our free cash flow forecasting. So one of our key metrics that we have here is our free cash flow, and wanted to make sure that we can understand what that looks like. And a lot of that has, data that I need to pull from other sources, but it analyzes it, pulls it together, and is able to forecast out multiple periods. On the natural language UX point, this is actually really powerful, I think, because you're able to you don't have to I don't have to have a coding certification, right? I don't really know how to code, and I tried it, but it doesn't work and doesn't fit in my day-to-day cycle of what I do. So having an agent where one of our examples here is like managing your inventory. Now we don't have this here today at our company, but in a previous life we've seen managing an agent between multiple data systems using natural language pulls you out of having to like go in and under the hood and dig into each of those systems and figure out how to join that stuff together. So, some of those systems may be homegrown, a legacy system that's there that's too big to pull up. But you've got an ERP that you've got to use. And so connecting those two with more natural language makes it less burdensome for others in the company because you can kind of do it yourself. It's more of a DIY mechanism there. And then the last point here, you mentioned consistency and accuracy. I'll go back to some of the opportunities that we just talked about of being, accurate and efficient in what you do, adhering to your controls requirement, and getting things done quicker and getting things done more accurately. And so eliminating some of those, the human error aspect or formulas not pulling down correctly or missing a cell here. You're able to do this, leveraging an agent, close your books, save time on that close, save time on cycles, and also then do an effective review because you're not spending all the time either waiting for something to be prepared or preparing it yourself and then having to do a self-review. So again, these are just very high-level examples here, but what these can do is it opens up the door to other use cases as you get used to using some of these agents in your day-to-day workflow.
Great. Thank you, Rahim. So with that, we thought we would show you all some agents that we think are relevant. So welcome to Semaphore.ai Studio. This is our tool that you can download directly to both your Windows and Mac laptop. From it, you've got everything you need to build a Semaphore.ai agent. So let's go ahead and check that out. So the first thing I may do is come into Studio, click here to build an agent. I'm presented with a screen where I can choose a conversational. So think like a human in the loop. This is where I want to chat and interact with it. Second one is a worker agent. So if you go back to what I was saying, to be able to autonomously work, so I can assign it a work item, like parse a PDF and go through an invoice reconciliation process. So what I'll do is I'll actually choose the conversational agent. I'm presented with a pretty easy form to fill out here. I can give it a name, brief description of what I'd like it to do. But something that's really unique to us here at Semaphore is what we refer to as the Semaphore.ai runbook. So the runbook is what powers the agent, lets it know its process, its context, what I'd like it to do, any types of guardrails. And this is something that we include right out of the box as a template to essentially help you get going. So one key thing for us at Semaphore.ai is you haven't seen any code here. And while there are folks that take that approach, like we said earlier, we really want to be able to give you a repeatable way to build agents. And then to do that all through a natural language interface. So this is where it's really powerful for folks like Rahim to come in with his knowledge, core knowledge of that process, critical, I'd say, that this is how we do, this is what we look for in an invoice, this is how we work it. I'd ask Rahim, is there anything specific that you found with the runbooks, either things that you liked or things that you found powerful?
Yeah, I was about to chime in here. So it's actually it is really powerful because it actually the run books that I start off building don't look this nice. I kind of just put my thoughts down in bullet points or note form. And over time you can refine this, but it's incredible how just using a few short words that it can be picked up and used and run you can run a process. So there's no like perfect run book that you actually need here, and then you can then iterate on it, and it can be an ongoing thing that you update and say you get a new instance 1 month that wasn't there last month, you can just update your run book and it will be there forever.
Yeah, it's great. So changes, getting someone else to chime in, we can send these, we can import, export. It's been a really powerful feature. And again, gets to that repeatability that we talk about a lot, and especially the ease of use, empowering the business. So like I said, we can choose our LLMs, and then we could add actions. We won't go that deep into actions today. This is more of the, essentially like the automations as code. But what's great is at Semaphore, we include a ton of pre-built actions right out of the box for things like browsing the web, sending emails, or working with Excel that you can just click with one click of the button and add it to your agent. So with that, in the sake of time for demos, I'd like to go ahead and jump into an agent that's probably relevant to this group. This one is based off a customer that we're working with, so we've anonymized it. But to show you a runbook for this actual very complex energy invoice, so think lots of buys and sells across various pipelines for this energy company. We'll go through, we will look for specific types of information, specific fields. Things are parsed out of a PDF. These PDFs can be upwards of 100 pages sometimes. It can take 3 or 4 more hours to go through. So essentially we step through, it's all of its natural language, about a page and a half of information that we feed the agent. Based on that, we've trained the agent on our process. So I can come in here and say, reconcile Dynamo. And again, so this is a human in the loop type interaction, but this could very well just be scheduled as a worker agent. And as you can see here, my agent's deciding to call some of those actions. So think about those as system automations or go get data. It's going to work through its runbook. And I found that I've actually reconciled the invoice. I have no discrepancies, so I can move forward in my process. What's really
Yeah,
nice here at Semaphore too is I know that we talked a little bit about this, Rahim, being able to
yeah.
step through what did the agent do to get here, right? So could you talk a little bit more about why you think this is important for, especially for finance folks?
Yeah, I think the fact that you can see the work and show me the work, like and how it's getting there is critical for a reviewer. And so it's not just something that's automated and doing it, and you say, okay, it did it right just because it came up with a zero discrepancy. You know, you may have a hugely positive variance and a hugely negative variance. And that's like the first thing they teach you in audit, you know, as a first year auditor, they're like, just because it's zero, it doesn't mean that it's right. So showing the work and seeing the work is critical, and having this reasoning tab here to show you and walk you through it. You know, you can also literally message it and say, okay, show me X, Y, and Z, and have a conversation with it as if you were reviewing the work of someone on your team, and you get that instant feedback and response versus sending it via email, waiting, and etc. So you've got everything you need. Source data, which is really important as well, having comfort over your source data for the purposes of controls, and your own comfort, really, to make sure that it's using the right data, and understanding where it's coming from, and then understanding how the reconciliation is done or how that work is done. It just makes you a more effective reviewer and makes you more comfortable that it's right.
Awesome. Thank you, Rahim. So as we kind of continue our process here, we've built the agent, we've talked about it, I've worked with Rahim to build this out. Let's go ahead and publish this. I can come back to my agent pane, and since I'm already connected to my control room, I can go ahead and click publish, which will take me out to the control room. And so what I can see here is I've published my agent to the gallery now. So this is the collection of agents that I have access to. It's centralized, it's controlled, it's monitored, and it's got access to all my key data sources because it's deployed within my cloud VPC. So it's within my enterprise control. So now let me go ahead and switch over. It's deployed. So this is what we call the Semaphore workroom. And within the workroom, you get a really streamlined interface built for your business users. So let's say I'm a financial analyst, part of Rahim's team. He's assigned me to go ahead and reconcile the Dynamo invoice. I can come into the chat interface and everything I've done now within Studio is a repeatable package that's been pushed to the centralized plane that's managed and monitored, and I can easily leverage it in a secure way as a business user without having to know anything about the underlying AI or actions or code. You can see everything we defined really is up at that natural language interface, and that's really on purpose. Again, I can come through and see that reasoning tab of how the agent got to this result, which we've reconciled back to zero for this demo today. Great. So that concludes our demo. What we did want to do is go through a couple different use cases we are working on with our customers. So the first one is what we just demoed. We built an invoice reconciliation agent. This is something we're super excited with, working with a key design partner on. And, I thought first, since I have Rahim on the call today, there's no one better to talk about the challenge than someone in finance themselves. So could you talk a little bit about what the challenge was in terms of invoice reconciliation?
Yeah, I think in this instance here was, large data sets that you're reconciling, and the risk of just spreadsheet error and missing something or having to rework. So the rework is also something that's time consuming, and when we're dealing with, we may ultimately get the reconciliation done and get it accurate, it's the time aspect as well. And there's also the aspect of, well, you could just automate this with either lookups or formulas or some sort of automation. Well, what happens when things change? It kind of breaks down. And so we saw those challenges of um, complexity that's not standard every month, but most of it's standard. So it's like, the old joke that we had when we were in public accounting was, 90% of it's all, the same, but that last 10% takes the longest time. And that's really the case here. And a lot of what we do, it's those exceptions that we wish we could just get through them because we got 90% of it done already, but it's that 10% that's actually really important. And so when you get something that may not look like it did last month, it may be different. The data quality may be different. You've got to actually spend some time on it. Those are the challenges that we see here.
Thanks, Rahim. Yeah, and really, as we worked with a design partner, right, the key solution was, right, that we integrated with their existing systems, right? We didn't bring in kind of yet another silo or tool or place to store this data. We're able to really quickly parse and use their unstructured data with our document intelligence capabilities to very quickly parse and pull those key fields out to do that reconciliation against the source data. And then the third, it was autonomous. We were able to build and test this with the team and actually stand up that worker agent, and using our control room and the workroom, able to actually do that autonomously, where each invoice comes in, they receive an email, the PDF is taken from that email, the agent does the work. If the agent needs help, they'll reach out with an email. If it's complete, they'll actually document their work. The key thing that we've discussed a lot today, to show me the work, all of that is traced and logged. So if they need to go back, they can look at that. So big outcome with this team, we're able to take the reconciliation time down from hours to seconds in terms of the agent. We think we can further improve that. I think it was about 3 hours to about 42 seconds. So we're looking to even further improve that. Driving up efficiency, as well as driving up the accuracy of the process, that repeatability, the consistency we've talked a lot about today. So the second use case is on remittance matching. So almost the other side of this process, right, Rahim? So being able to match to the payment, lots of complexity in that. This specific one, the scale was enormous. I think it was 10,000 plus vendors they work with globally. So, in general, like what's typically the challenge here?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge here is also that not everyone's data and workflow is the same as yours. And so when you've got that, you've got information coming from a third party outside of your organization that don't know how you like to receive information. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't actually listen, and they do what they want to do because that's their process. So it's the parsing through emails, looking for that unique identifier to match remittance information. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes you have to guess. Sometimes they've overpaid. Sometimes, there's often difficulty, and you can usually get a resolution there, but it's taken a lot of time. It's taken time out of your day to do that, and you don't necessarily have an agent to help you.
Yeah, it can definitely sound like a tough challenge. And especially with this one, when we worked with this customer, like I said, the scale is enormous, and it's still something that we're working on with them, and they're pretty excited about. So the solution is, we also leverage document intelligence here, right? A lot of unstructured data in finance, or semi-structured, if you will. So for this, they all came in via those emails. We need to extract key information, like the remittance information, like invoice number, payment date, etc. Pull that out, essentially match to the vendor, go and integrate with the existing tooling, right? So again, not telling you to put a new tool in. Semaphore is not trying to be a new data source for you. We're trying to help you get the work done. And so we integrate with those existing ERP or cash flow systems, AP systems. And so with this, we were able to significantly increase the auto match capabilities. So I think we were at 30 something, working with the customer now at 94.22 or something and above. So they're super excited about this. So we're continuing to test at scale. They think they can significantly reduce the manual processing the team's doing because they're already inundated with work, right? And they need to scale and keep up with global orders. Kind of tying back to what you shared, Rahim, earlier, is the team's got to handle more orders with the same team. So being able to have these agents allows you to increase the amount of workers you have with the same team. And then they're super excited about the accuracy, right? We've driven that way up. So all of that done inside their virtual private cloud. So super excited about seeing this one go to production here in the next month or so as well. So a little bit about as we start to wrap up, this is how we work at Semaphore. So we'd love to hear from you all. Looking forward to the questions soon, but just a high level of essentially how we engage. We're a company that builds AI agents. It's powered by AI agents. So in that sense, we like to move very quickly. First session is up to 2 hours max, typically over Zoom or email. Collect things like sample documents, your formats, your schemas. We don't really need any of your core proprietary data or anything like that. We really want to build that cognitive loop with the agent. So typically within a day, we've built the runbook or faster. Within 2 days, we like to schedule a readout with you and with your leadership. We can then kind of mutually decide, should we go ahead and deploy this agent into pre-prod or prod even? And typically that's a set of weeks, target 2 to 4 weeks or so. So typically in a month, we like to be able to prove out that not only we can build an agent at Semaphore, but with our enterprise platform, we can also deploy it. And that's something that we really stand behind. So just some key points to wrap up before we get to questions. We're an end-to-end enterprise AI agent platform, right? We think that these enterprise AI agents can and should be built by your business folks. That said, we also think it's critical to partner with IT to accelerate these automations, accelerate these integrations. By building those as actions, which we didn't really get too deep into today, but by building those as actions, we can re-leverage them. So they're built once with the first request, but then leveraged by every single use case after. So think about building to something like Oracle. You build that integration the first time for the first finance use case, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the 10th gets to re-leverage that integration. We think agents should be supporting both human in the loop as well as this autonomous work, right? There's both of those functions when we look at the work done by humans today. And then, so last but not least, if there's any non-finance folks that have gone through this, thank you. But we work on agents that really span all different types of categories. We've got design partners working on supply chain, HR onboarding, sales and marketing, content generation, approval flows. So, if you have a use case that you think would fit the platform that you would like to build as an AI agent, then definitely reach out. And so with that, we'd love to go through some of the questions. We've got our contact information here. We walked through a little bit about the engagement model, but just would love to answer some of the questions that you all have.
All right, I'm just going through the questions here. Tom, you got the questions on your end?
Yeah, I think you can read them out. I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'll start from the top here. Great. So one of the first questions we got was, how does the agentic AI differ from RPA capability? Because a lot of what we talked about today, either folks are already using RPA or can be solved with RPA. How does it benefit someone that's already on an RPA platform switching to agentic AI, and what value are you unlocking with this transformation?
yeah, it's a great question, and thanks for asking it. I think where like RPA has been a great point-to-point solution to build that automation, and people have seen value today. One of the things a lot of our customers tell us is that it really struggled with ambiguity. So if you weren't able to build for every edge case, you'd have more downtime than you would typically think is acceptable. So I think where an AI agent comes into that space, since we're powered by those LLMs, we can really understand intent and context really easily. And then we can turn around and use that LLM to question the source systems to get an accurate, repeatable answer. So I'd say that's typically the difference, though, again, to recap, is the AI agent probably deals much better with ambiguity in that natural language than most RPA systems.
Great. So can published agents be segregated to different teams? And so a department owned doesn't see some other departments.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, it's great. And thank you for asking this. Within our platform, we consider that a different workspace. So it's totally supported both at the organizational level as well as the workspace level. So you can segment things into sandbox or production within a team, within an organization. But that's definitely the goal, is being able to have separate virtual boxes. We could also stand up different physical infrastructure so they're computed differently if needed. But yes, a great question, and definitely supported, because we want to make sure when the business user logs in, they only see the agents they're allowed to work with based on their role.
Right. We'll keep going here. Got quite a few here. So, for intelligent document processing, it, is there, if an invoice is sitting in a system already, is there a way to retrieve that invoice, or do they need to create some type of bot, RPA bot, to send the invoice to the agent?
So we can definitely parse through the PDF. If it's already pre-parsed and you have that data in a format that's consumable, which would be really any type of text format, we can certainly work with that and be downstream of it if you've already used some sort of OCR type technology. But within Semaphore itself, we actually support a document intelligence capability to actually parse those PDFs. So that's the first format we're supporting. We're looking to expand that out to more types and structures and formats of unstructured data. But I think the answer there is both. So we can both parse the PDF. If you've already got it into a format and a schema, we can certainly work downstream from that, essentially ingest that, whether it's CSV or JSON or some other format. And then we could process that, step through the runbook, and put it into your kind of final system, if you will, your system of record.
Yeah, I think it was like, if the invoice is sitting somewhere in one of my 8 systems that I have, can an agent go and get it, basically? And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, as long as we have an API or some way to access it, typically that would be pretty straightforward to get that and get it into our system.
great. All right. I'm gonna try and get through more questions here. Um, I think we answered that one.
Yeah, I think there was one about AI actions.
Yes. Oh, yep. So it's
Yeah, so could you please share more about our AI actions? Is that open source libraries using Python? So the answer is yes. We didn't cover it today because today was more business focused call. But yes, that's exactly right. It's open source, built using Python. You can find that on our website, I believe. If not, we can happily share out the link to the GitHub. But that allows you to build these integrations, those actions, those calls you saw the agent do. Pretty much anything you can do in Python, you can enable your AI agents to do.
all right. One here, is the customer data protected? Where does the training data reside?
The training data.
I assume, um, yeah.
So this is a good question. And so our deployment model is we deploy all the compute, all the data storage. So everything that the model's doing, all the exhaust, the logs, the prompts that we send back and forth to the large language models, all that's within your cloud VPC. So we at Semaphore can't see or do anything with that. So we're not training on your data. The way to kind of think about us is our AI agents are being trained on your runbooks. And from that, there's a compilation step that we essentially build an immutable agent that allows you to deploy it. And so that makes us quite a bit different than folks that are using your kind of enterprise data to train a model internally. That's actually not what we're doing. We think it's really important to leverage best of breed LLMs, things that are state of the art like OpenAI as well as Claude. Call and integrate with downstream systems of record to get your data so that they're extremely accurate, they're well bounded and specified, and that you're not really exposing any of your data to us to do any type of model training in that sense. Let's see. We can probably go through a couple different more here.
Yeah.
I think we've got most of them. Maybe there was one more. Learning curve. So like you've seen today, I've actually been working with Rahim on these. He is not someone that's writing code, but he's got that intimate knowledge from the business, from the decade plus experience he has of working in various roles in finance. So I think that's really the key thing you have, is that you partner with a business person. From more of my technology side, I'm really more of like an enabler, ensuring that those integrations are there. I think as long as you can really explain the process to maybe like a new employee or something in a really well-defined way that you think they can get up to speed quickly, I think that's the main requirement of building a runbook. I don't know if you've had any other experience, Raheem, or comments that may
Yeah.
help others.
Yeah, the way that I think about it, right when I started experimenting with this, was maybe just write something down as if I was building a run book, and just write it down in note format, and think of it as if I'm not going into too much detail, but it's something that a new team member would be able to understand. And then from there, it became a process with, really us sitting down and understanding, okay, well, what things are missing here in order to make my agent work. So it wasn't a heavy lift by any means. It was just me explaining like what's going on in my head down to you, as well as putting it on paper, to say this is how I want it built. This is how I want it built, and how it needs to be built. And it becomes this constant feedback loop of what actually works and what doesn't. So it was very easy to get started. I'll put it that way. Once, to get something into production, you probably want to test it, of course, but it wasn't a heavy lift. The biggest thing was I had to download it and use it. And install it on my laptop. It was very easy to use just to get started.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I think probably the last one here, we can kind of wrap up. We're scheduled to be released very shortly here. So stay tuned. If you're interested in working together on a use case, please reach out. Yeah, and then so we'd be happy to help. So the contact information is here. I think you have myself and Rahim. So reach out. Any other last parting things, Rahim? Any tidbits of wisdom?
Yeah, no, it's the early innings really of this journey for us at Semaphore, and me in the AI agent world of finance. We're really just scratching the surface here, and there's a lot more that gets unlocked as you get ingrained in using this. And so I would say each week that goes by, I'll ping Tom with a new idea of like, hey, I want to do this. And he's like, yeah, great, let's do it. And so the idea is, you can almost kind of put any idea down and think about how you can build it with an agent, to make your life easier, really, and make your life easier and drive value for the business. So appreciate everyone's time. I know there were probably some questions we weren't able to get to. I think we covered most of them that we needed to. And there are a few that we covered already. But yeah, really appreciate it. Hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully we do this again next year, and we'll be further along in my journey. And um, yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rahim. Thank you to everyone that attended. Thank you for your time today. And yeah, so reach out if you have questions. We're happy to help. Take care.
Thanks.